What's cracking, mi gente? This your boy D once again coming in here to drop off a little bit of love and some knowledge. I hope you're having a blessed day with your family and surrounded by your loved ones. You can see on that thumbnail, you guys know what the topic we'll be discussing. It's a serious topic, so let's get into it. Before we get into it, subscribe, give a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what else you want us to talk about. MS13. As you guys know, I was a part of that organization for a long time. I became a gang member from that organization since I was 13 years old. I'm in my 30s now. It's been a long time gang banging, repping that flag, you know. It's not always flowers and perfumes, high nuts and cars, parties, and that's the saying, you know. It's not always been that way. You guys gotta know a little bit about MS13. I will get into it right now as much as I can, give you guys as much detail. It might not end on this video. It might end, continue with the second part. So let's get into it now. MS13, they were known before as MSS, Mara Salvatrucha Stoners. Yes, there were punk rocker listeners. Yes, there were homies that used to wear long hair, dress differently, and they used to go to concerts and punk rocker and all that situation. The hand sign from their fingers spreading, throwing up basically like a garra, like how can I put it in English for? It's like a cloth. The symbol of the cloth, the garra, with the fingers bending down and your index finger and the other lower finger standing up. That come from basically us being punk rockers. You know, the homies celebrating, doing bump in their face and listening to music. That's what the hand symbol came from. A homie used to be on one, punk rocking, losing the hair, and they start throwing up the symbol. So we took down the basically the first finger, which is the index finger. We bring it down, and then we were left with two fingers going up. That became our hand symbol. The Mara, that word specifically to all Salvadorians, it just means a group of people. Mara. Hey homie, let's go with the Mara. Hey homie, let's go with the fools. Like with the homies right here kicking. That word Mara means a group of people. Salvatrucha, as you guys know, a lot of Salvadorians back in the day were referring to being los Salvatruchos. You know, for Salvadorians, Salvatruchos. So that's how that became about. The stories became about a lot of homies smoking weed, listening to punk rockers, doing all the punk rocker stuff, rock and roll music. A lot of people had lived in the comments saying we were copying Mexicans, their estilo, the Pachuco estilo. That's not necessarily true. The way we used to dress, at least in El Salvador, was different how the homies in LA used to dress. I understand the homies in LA used to dress with the Dickies, the Nikes, and all of that stuff. If you go dig deep into El Salvador story of gangbanging, the homeboys used to wear big pants, twice their size. They used to cover up all their shoe over it, basically, you know. And that's what they're still with it, white tank top and pulling up a little bit higher and with his shirt hanging on the left shoulder or right shoulder, whatever it might be. But that's how the homies used to rap it in El Salvador. And here in LA, I understand this is the kaboom. This is where it started. But Salvadorians started this game. La gente de nuestro pueblo, the people from our villages, the people that were so much tired of getting our views for other gangs. And I don't say this to minimize other razas or other gente, but we were oppressed by Mexican gangs. We were oppressed by other gangs. Because in the area where we used to live, basically Pico Rivera, the area of downtown, there was blacks, there was Mexicans, but see, blacks didn't really get into with us and whites. The people that oppressed us most of the time were our own people, the Mexicans, other people from other countries, Hondurans and things like that. The game became basically a game to support each other, to help each other not get victimized, not get robbed, not get oppressed, That's how the Mara Salvatrucha stoners just started. It used to just be Mara stoners way before even it got as serious into a gang. It used to be just Mara stoners, a bunch of stoners smoking weed, listening to punk rocker, hanging out in different corners and things like that. Yeah, we used to get along with 18th Street, but that's not how it really went about, you know. And another reason why was because they didn't like us, we didn't like them. It would just always been issues, and then the war actually began, or issues arising. Them using a phone that was in Alvarado Street when we used to go back to El Salvador. The dudes from 18 didn't want us to use it, even though the Salvadorians didn't want us to use it. That phone was used basically to call our gente, our people back home, but we didn't have to pay for it. Since we were poor, somehow, some way, they had hacked our phone to the way where we could make phone calls down there and not have to pay for it. It became an issue with the dudes from 18, and then at that point of time, the homies were getting a little bigger numbers, so we decided to fight back. Fight started breaking out, knife became involved, and things like that, you know. And then the enemy story began, or how that transpired. But the real reason why I'm doing this video is to answer a lot of people's question is why MS never had a big homie, a señor, a pili, a tío. Yes, it is true. One dude left a comment when I did the interview with old boy, talking about the reason why it was because we burned the Mexican flag. That is accurate. That is true. But it cannot be just that reason. There was a lot of things going on around when we became MS Mara Salvatruchas, and then we start claiming the 13. Before we even adopted the 13, let me tell you guys, we went through hell and back. We got used, we got abused, we got destroyed, we got manipulated, all of that and above. Anything you can think of, we did it. We were used as torpedoes in the penal system, YA system, and the county system, even in the streets. Before we even got the 13, we didn't vote the 13, we didn't buy the 13 as many barrios nowadays are done. We didn't pay for that. We earned it with blood, shit. We used to do a lot of holler for senores. We used to do a lot of holler for people. And that's how we became and got blessed with the 13. And now we had it to follow into the SUR program. But it also was beneficial for the Mexican Mafia at that time because they realized that we were becoming a big number, a big gang. And a lot of people back in the 90s were getting deported back to the motherland, El Salvador. Most of them were getting deported to El Salvador at that time. Yeah, there was some homies that were deported to Honduras, Guatemala, and whatnot. But most of the transactions were being done to El Salvador, you feel me? So, the issue that arose between when the incident happened of the Mexican flag getting burned, a lot of people don't like to talk about, and a lot of people got their facts confused. It was behind a soccer game. A Mexico team was playing against El Salvador. We were in a bar. There was a lot of homies there. But there was a lot of our enemigas there. There was a lot of people that used to beef with MS. And excuse me if I still use some of the words enemiga because I'm trying to get used to this game banging life. It's hard, old habits die hard. So beforehand, I dispense, I apologize for you guys. But basically, there have been incidents transpire where dudes from 18, dudes from Playboys, dudes from Clinton, dudes from other Florencia, different neighborhoods that were already in the mix with the Mexican Mafia. They were going to their big homies and complaining like, these dudes are doing drive-bys, these dudes are doing this, these dudes are coming into the house and smashing, these dudes are doing that. And since we were not very much like, the big homies were taking their barrio, their homies were, and was basically getting sanctioned every single time. They used to do the same to us. Back in the 90s, you gotta remember, drive-by was a thing to do. They used to pull up to the homeboys, beat up in front of their hyenas, in front of their kids, and it was okay. But when we did it to them, they will bring it up to the señores or they bring it up to the hierarchies, and then it became an issue. We used to get taxed. So it was basically before it even became a whole barrio situation. It was basically whoever did the infraction, that click, that set, will pay whatever tax was placed upon us, And that was it. It was all about the money back then. It was all about the money now. When this situation arose, there was a lot of hot tempers going on already flying because the homies were literally putting hands. You got to remember, a lot of the homies from MS13 become from guerrilleros, or guerrilla warfare. They were coming from El Salvador over here when the war was going on, escaping what was going on over there, and putting their skills to use on the streets. A lot of the dudes were either ex-police officers, ex-commanders that deserted because they didn't agree with what was being done in El Salvador. So they had the hand-to-hand combat skills, and plus they had a little knowledge about warfare, how to do pegadas, how to do this, how to do that. So you got to remember, you're dealing with a basically a guerrilla warfare type of situation. Dudes were not afraid to die or not to do anything. The only thing that could get done was deport them. When they get to El Salvador, they will get dealt with whatever infraction you committed. So what transpired between that was basically there was homeboys from different cliques there watching the game. And there was homies sureños from other cliques and other barrios there watching the Mexico-Salvador game. And Salsa started getting into exchange, either because the foul wasn't called, penalty wasn't called, things like that. You know how when people are drinking, tempers seem to flare up. So there was a lot of insults getting traded back and forward. Some dudes could handle it, some dudes would laugh about it, get a kick out of it. See, at that time, we wasn't really beefing with that many people at the time. Yeah, there was fights, there were beef, there were stabbings here and there, but most of the time, there was squashing. So around 94, 95, 96. The dates are not sure. Really, the month, excuse me, is not really 100% dragging to my memory. Like I said before, I got people, my family tree were from the old school stoners that participated in a lot of the infractions that happened before, and that's where I get my knowledge from. So when this transpired, there's a homie from Playboys there, and there's a homie from Florencia there. How did they got together? They used to be, I do not know. They were watching the game. There's a penalty that has not been called on the Mexican side. So they start insulting the referee, calling him a sellout, this and that. The dude from Playboy start insulting the flag, our flag, the Salvadorian, saying, you guys are a bunch of scammers, you guys are a bunch of piece of shit, crybabies, la la la. The homeboys that are there in the bar telling the dude, like, hey, look, it's just a game, you gotta relax, you gotta stop insulting us, we're not here for that, we're here just to watch the game. Mind you, there was a lot of Salvadorians there that were not even game banging. The situation kept escalating. There was a dude from Playboys that grabbed the Salvadorian flag, said, man, you guys gotta get out of here, I'm gonna burn this flag. The homeboys were like, whoa, 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 don't do that. That's a disrespectful and that's an insult to us. We're not doing nothing to you guys. We're just having fun. If you got an issue with the other people coming, then go and deal with them. They decide to take matters up to their hand and try to burn the flag. When I say try, is they put fire to it. As soon as it started catching lit, the homie took off. Bling. Book basically dropped him. You got to remember, like I said before, the homies were basically coming from a guerrilla type of fair war. So the homie dropped and his homeboys jumped. The dude from Florencia, there was different barrios there jumped. One of the individuals that didn't have nothing to do with the barrio gets hold of a Mexican flag and he decides to put fire to it. So he started burning the flag. This dude see this situation. The homie's trying to get to the dude to trying to have him stop. Not because they're afraid of what's not transpired, but just out of respeto. You know, that means a lot to burn somebody's flag, to respect the country. So what transpired after that is they burned the Mexican flag. Somehow, some way they took, I don't know if it was picture black and white or whatnot, but they had some type of proof when they went to the señores and when they transpired, and the police report also said that they haven't burned the Mexican flag. This caused a big issue because the dude happened to be a cousin of one of the homeboys from Leewars or Francis, I believe. Not 100% sure what it was, but I know those two cliques were involved. So the big homies come in the conclusion that they're gonna have to turn them in. Whoever burned the flag will deal with him, and it's a dead issue. Well, our people, our gente decide to say, challenge, you guys started that, you guys try to burn our flag, we're not going to give up somebody's family member just because you feel like it. Well, that's not the response that we're looking for. The answer that we're hoping to get. And this pissed them off. So they kept pushing. You got to remember, we had homeboys in the penitentiary system at the time. We had homeboys in the county at that time fighting for cases. So they try to reach out to the homeboys and tell them, basically, tell your little homies on the streets to give up the dude. If not, it's going to be bad for you guys. Whole barrio at that time, like I said before, it was whatever clique committed the infraction, that clique get disciplined, get taxed, and it was a done data. They decide to implement it. Fuck it, these dudes got too big, they got too crazy, we're going to implement the whole car. So they said, basically, if you guys don't turn in whoever burned this flag and hold you responsible for it, we're going to hold all of you guys responsible as a MS, as a whole, as a group, as an organization, as a gang. The homies are not happy about this. But they're still on their mindset, we're not going to turn one of our own. They offered to get the dual individual to get dealt with by our own hand. They said, challenge, we want to deal with it. So now it became an ego thing. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It became a, who's going to be the baddest and who's going to be the, basically, you know. So they decided to say, nah, challenge, you guys are not dealing with it because we don't know if you guys are going to send him out the country, whatever, whatnot. We want to deal with it. You're going to give us his head, serving a platter. We're going to deal with it. The homeboys are challenge. We're not doing it. That's not what we do. We're not going to just give you guys basically one of our own and let you guys deal with it. Not happening. Well, this is not what these guys were expecting. And you got to remember, at that time, there were still issues because a lot of them people looked at us like as savages. Because of the mantra, a lot of homeboys used to do La Mara Salvatrucha, Rifa, Mata, y Viola. Rifa means gangbang, Mata, kills, Viola means rape. So a lot of people took that into a literal way and said they're a bunch of rapists, guys. They're a bunch of this, basuras. They shouldn't even be allowed to walk the main line. They shouldn't be allowed to even be next to us. You know how it is. A lot of people try to minimize or dismantle this group. But it didn't happen because they were already getting too big. There was already subsections in different parts of LA, cliques. There was a lot of barrios being done in the Central American countries. The people that got deported that were already established in the number. So this now was just not just a small clique you guys could just step on and squash like cockroaches. There was a big game you guys had to deal with because they will fight back. So since the homeboys decide not to turn this dude in, the senores, the pilis, the mafia members decide to greenlight the whole MS car. And this when it got bad. Anybody that's from MS in LA County was getting the blues. I mean, you gotta understand, I know LA County Jail is vicious. It's known. It got a reputation. So a lot of homeboys that were in the penal system already in the prisons, whether they were in YA or prison, the pintas, even the feds that were getting the blues. And the homeboys that were politicking, I mean, at that time, we weren't allowed to politic. We weren't allowed to have a seat at all. We were still proving our vessels. We were still proving our bones. So they decide to say, fuck this situation, blast them. Green light all of them. If they're not going to give up, green light all of them. They're going to have to either piece it up, make their own gang, or do what they do, but we don't want them program at all. What they didn't expect for MS13 gang members at that time was this dude was not easy to manipulate, to break him. They coming from a warfare, third world country where they have suffered when the government had disposed them of their homes, with the government has separated from their house, the loved ones. These dudes were not going to give up that easy. You got to remember, they coming from fighting the government. And there was even soldados, soldier people that have been in the army that were homeboys that were not just going to give up that easy. So when this green light took effect, I believe it was in the beginning of 96, end of 95, everybody that was from MS13, at least in county jail, LA County Jail was getting smashed. At that time, they weren't using hard candies. They were trying to either, in their mentality, I can picture they're back there like, we're gonna hit them, we're gonna smash them every single time. We're gonna see how much they can hold on. If they checked in, they're not worth our problem. They're not worth none of us. They're not worth even us being admitting them as a 13, as sureños. So just smashing green light. So a lot of homeboys in the county jail were getting dealt with viciously. And you gotta understand they're dorms, so there's a lot of sureños there. They're packing homies out left and right. Homeboys from the mess, oh, you from the mess, cáele, boom.